Now presenting Mary Oliver Onion Patch. What do you have for us today, Mary?
I wrote a sonnet while planting onions.
Wow.
I stopped in the middle of planting onions to write this extremely good sonnet.
I don't think it's going to be extremely good, but go on.
No seed can root in dirt as hard as stone, nor flower bloom in clay that will not yield. So I have ground this body to the bone to turn soft earth and tend this barren field. But still my fingers scrape a desert soil, no purchase yet for desperate yearning life. While there may be no end yet to this toil, there rises moon and starlight for my wife.
Aww.
No, the light went away.
Very smooth.
For as we crouch and crawl and creep like ants in rows as crooked as a smile each morn, so strains and pulls each seam in mud-bound pants, and soon I fear indignity be born. I'll swear silence if you, my dear, will too, and bring a spare next week, and one for you.
Wow!
So get in the comments about what kind of poem I should write in the garden next week.
Apparently this is going to be a recurring segment, so there you go. So hi, welcome to the gardening vlogs for this year. Sorry about the shakiness. I have a very precarious setup right now. But hi, my name's Sam. This is going to be the beginning of the gardening vlogs for this year. I'm going to try again. Hopefully I'll actually be able to capture the whole year. That is my hope, that I can kind of capture the whole year in this very weird, specific way that I garden, because I think it's interesting and it's fun to show off. And I have lots of experiments that I want to do. Yeah, anyway. So I currently reside in Zone 7A. It's a weird little pocket of Zone 7A surrounded by 6B. Kind of cool. I like having slightly better temperatures in this area. And then my last frost date, today's August. Today is April 13th, and my last frost date is expected to be next week. Looking at the 10-day forecast, that's probably accurate. I do have one night going down to 37, which is kind of cusp. So we'll see how that actually goes. But yeah. So I garden in two different kinds of spaces. I have a balcony garden, which I'll be able to show you today. I'm going to take you on some errands with me because I have some gardening errands to do. And then if I start talking about the garden, what I'm referring to is my community garden plot. So I rent two community garden plots that are right next to each other. So I effectively have a 30-foot by 60-foot space. I will totally answer any questions that you have about community gardening in general, and I hope to be able to show you how that works, at least in my circumstance. I know that there's different types of community gardens. There's some where you can get you can rent a bed. There's some where everybody works together in the same space and shares the produce. Mine, you literally just get a square of land, or in my case, I have two little squares of land that are 30 by 30 foot. So I have that large space. It's just in ground. It's a big field that they plow. So essentially I am just waiting for that to open this year. This time last year it was already open. But this year we've had some really weird late frosts. We've had just weird weather, and pretty consistent rain, which is good. But it also means that the field can't be plowed, and then they don't have time. They need it to be dry enough that they can plow the field without it being super clumpy. And also without they also need to be able to go out and stake everything and stuff. So there needs to be a good stretch of a few days where there is no rain so it can dry out and they can go do all their work. So looking at my forecast, it's possible that maybe that could happen this weekend, but it also might not happen until later next week. I don't really care either way. I'm just ready to go. So eagerly awaiting that. I'm just hoping sooner rather than later. I want to put stuff in the ground. So throughout the summer, this is my 3rd year doing gardening there. So throughout the summer, that's kind of what I spend a lot of my time on during the weekends, is going out and checking on my garden and working on things, little projects there. I always have a really interesting garden design for out there compared to a lot of my garden neighbors who just do a lot of like regular rows, which like works out really well. But for me, I like to kind of be creative with the space. It's kind of nice. So those are my 2 garden spaces right now. I can't really talk a lot about it right now, but I do have the potential for a 3rd garden space this year, but that will most likely not be till like the fall time. And as those plans solidify, I will definitely let you guys know, and I would love to bring you along for the process. That'll be a build out, but yeah, that's still like in the very, very early stages of that whole thing. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, even though I'm like really, really super excited about it. But yeah, potentially a fall garden into the winter, which I'm like, I haven't really been able to do anything in the fall and winter as of this point because the community garden closes in October, and container gardening becomes a little bit more difficult when it's cold because your soil gets really cold. And things just kind of die off as it gets colder. So that will be a fun exploration as long as everything goes okay and we get it done. Anyway, so today I took a half day from work. So in like an hour or 2 hours-ish, I will be done with my day. And I will be taking you along to run some errands that are garden related. And then I would like to come back here and reconvene and talk about some of the plans for this year so that we can kind of get like a good intro set up for when I can actually like dig in a little bit better. So super, super looking forward to that. I'm really glad to get back into vlogging. And I guess I'll catch you at our first stop. This angle is not great. Ugh, and it's hot. Like, can you tell how sweaty I am? Look how shiny I am. Whew, and I don't have a hair tie, so we're just doing this. So I am at Roar Seeds, which is my like fave seed store, and they also have onion starts. They're not onion sets, they're onion starts. And then I bought myself a camera. There's a dude like slowly pulling in next to me for some reason. Like he doesn't know how to pull into a space. So I bought myself this content creator kit, hilarious. But it's a little Canon camera that I can vlog with, and I'm super excited about it. What is this person doing? Hold on. Okay, so the guy who was having trouble parking was really nice, and I ended up helping him with onion questions, of all things. But I got my sack of onions. I got, I think I ended up getting a set of Walla Wallas and a set of red, just like red, I think they're called candy red onions. We'll see how that goes. I don't really know anything about them. I had picked up shallots, but I put them back because it's just so expensive to grow shallots. And I buy a lot of produce still from my like local farms. So I think it's just cheaper for the amount of shallots I use, excuse me, to just buy shallots from them as I need them. And then I'll just have onions for everything else. My wife doesn't even eat onions, so having 2 of these big sets of onions is kind of overkill, but I just wanted some. So yeah, there's the red candy apple onion. But yeah, I'm just glad that I got something. So I'm gonna go literally right across the street, like you can see it right there. I'm going to that greenhouse just to pick up a few things. Nothing important, I just want to get a few things, and then I think I'm gonna head home. It's really hot and I kind of want, like, maybe I'll see if I can find a good cool drink for the way there. So yeah. Oh yeah, I'm across the street at Ken's. I'm about to go in. I'll show you what I end up grabbing along the way. This place has changed a lot in the last year. They did a lot of remodeling, so I'm interested to see what it looks like now. I went in February and actually got my wife a Valentine's Day flower thing. I got my wife a Valentine's Day succulent, essentially. So it was still pretty bare then, but there should be some stuff in here now since it's warmer, so I'm really excited to see what it looks like in there, because this is like my favorite place. They have such good plants. They have lots of cool plants, and the prices are pretty good too. So yeah, let's see what we can find. Alright, I'm hot. I got my plants. They're back there. I'm ready to go home. It's 1:48. I forgot to change. I'm gonna do that now. Much better. Anyway, it's 1:48 p.m. I wouldn't have even been done with work yet, and I'm already done with my errands, which is kind of great. Getting a little hungry, so I might get a snack. I definitely need to go pick up my medication. Important. But it's hot, and I want to be in the air conditioning, even if it's the shitty air conditioning of my apartment, so I'm gonna go do that. And we'll talk about garden plans for this year. Can you see how red my face is? It's so freaking hot. So yeah, I have like a 45-minute drive to get home to my home area, and I'm gonna grab a snack and a drink on the way there. Okay, I'll see you then. So anyway, let's have a discussion about garden spaces and what's going on this year. So let's talk about plants. So I live in Central PA, Zone 7A. We're in like this little pocket, like I said before, where it's 7A, where the surrounding is all 6B. It goes pretty far south, but it's 6B, except for just my little blip that I live in. And I enjoy that because I get the benefits of living in a slightly warmer zone. So I primarily garden in a community garden plot, and then I also have my balcony garden, which is how I started out gardening. So I've kept up with that just because it's really convenient to be able to grow stuff here, and I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I'm specifically going to grow here a little bit later. Man, these wasps are fucking bold, and oh, that's a big fucker. If it gets near me, I'm going to slap the shit out of it. So I just really want to share as much information about growing like this as I can, because growing in small spaces is worth it, and it's really cool to be able to kind of show how nice it is to have convenient food near you. So for the past 2 years I've had a community garden plot, and for the past 6 years I've had, you know, definitely longer, 8 years. For a good long dang while, I've had balcony or patio planters where I've been growing some form of food. I've been growing food for a while. And even when I was younger, I had a little small area, like a shade garden, that I would try to grow stuff in and just experiment. And so I've always been interested in gardening, and only in the past few years have I actually started learning about it and how to do it. So yeah. The past 2 years I've had the community garden. That was kind of a funny coincidence that I started community gardening the year that COVID hit, so I had something really interesting to keep me busy and engaged and get out of the house when there wasn't really much else to do. And I was able to grow not a ton of food, but a decent amount of food for my wife and I to have like fresh produce that year. Last year I honestly didn't do as well. I think it was kind of a combination of things. I had less help in the garden, and I definitely needed the help because I didn't prepare enough and I didn't keep up with it enough by myself. But it was just because like other stuff was happening, since, you know, things were slowing down a bit and everyone was kind of falling into the rhythms of what it meant to be living during a pandemic. So I was out there less because I was doing other stuff, and the people that had been helping me, my dad and stepmom and a few other people, just weren't able to come out as much to help me, or didn't want to. I don't know, it doesn't matter. This was my project, so I was like very happy for the help when I got it, but understood that everybody didn't want to be in my garden all the time, if that makes sense. But yeah, it resulted in kind of a disastrous year of gardening. There also was just like a lot of weird weather happening. We had a really late frost last year. We had some like monsoon rains that like literally washed away plants that had been shallowly planted in my garden. That was an interesting one. All of my cucamelons got washed away. That was very sad. Luckily I found replacements, but they never really grew that well, and so it was just frustrating. Oh, I was so thirsty. Anyway, so going into my third year of community gardening, I had been kind of debating going down to one plot. So I have 2 of the 30 by 30 foot plots. I've been thinking of going down to 1 because I was like, oh, well, I could probably do better with 1. I could still get a decent amount of food. And then I just like threw that to the wind. The minute that signups came up, I was like, but I want both my plots. So I just got both. I'm going to be doing some interesting things though to try to work with that space that I have. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to be using newspaper. My garden neighbor who grows a lot of flowers uses newspaper as kind of a ground cover, and it's a weed barrier essentially. So I'm going to, I saved newspapers for an entire year, and I'm going to staple them into sheets. I'll show you that as I do it, but I'm basically using that instead of mulch, and I'm hoping that that will suppress weeds, which will make my job easier. I'm also going to try to sow things a little more densely, and I will also be succession sowing, so having that weed barrier will help in places where I haven't planted yet. It will be a barrier. That's not something that I would really recommend for like a home garden where you might be able to get mulch, but in this case I can't get mulch out there, and straw has just not worked for me at all. It blows away. It's really windy up there. It blows away, which I know how to deal with the newspaper. I did it on a small scale last year. But yeah, I'm hoping that that will work out better. For soil, I'll probably get some bags of soil just to help amend, but I'm not going to go too crazy with that. I'm going to mostly deal with the dirt as it is. The thing about like soil amendments and stuff is you can go crazy doing all the research about all the things that you can do to have the most perfectest soil, but at the end of the day, like, plants want to grow. So even if they're not in terribly great soil, they're still gonna grow. They might not be like the biggest, most luscious thing, but like, don't waste your money right off the bat trying to be the most perfectest gardener. And I feel like I did that to an extent, where I was like, oh, I need to do all these soil amendments, and I need to do this, and I need to get a soil tester, and it's just so much effort, and it kind of takes the fun out of it. And you can learn a lot just from having a shitty garden that like you only get a few things out of, but you learn a lot about the plants even if they're not at their best, if that makes sense. Like, you don't need to have 10-foot tall tomatoes. If you have some small determinate tomatoes, they're still gonna work just as well. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna keep a smaller budget for plants. I had originally been like, oh, I'm only gonna use this cash that I have on hand, and then I spent some of it today on just like herbs for my balcony, and I realize it's probably not gonna happen. But I am going to like pace myself a little bit, because I feel like what happened last year is I would just keep buying plants to replace the plants that died instead of like trying to take care of the plants that I had. But my big focus this summer is going to be the garden. So yeah. And then I'm gonna try to come up with some interesting trellising ideas for this year. I'm definitely gonna do it different from the previous 2 years. I've learned a lot about the space that I'm in, and that's something that you learn over time. But one of the problems that we have there is really, really high winds. It is a flat farmland, and there's really, really high winds, and there's no windbreak. So like, if I am talking out there, and if you've watched any of my older videos, which I did take down just because they're kind of a mess and I wanted to start fresh, but it's so loud out there that sometimes it can be like cold and hard to move, and it knocks shit down. Like, without fail, is gonna knock shit down. So I'm going to try to work with that the best I can, and try to have sturdier supports for anything that I'm going to trellis. I actually reduced the amount of things that I was going to trellis. I decided this year that I'm not going to grow loofah, for example, and I'm not going to grow any ornamentals that need a trellis, just because it isn't worth it to me to have to try to set up that many trellises. So, you know, we're going to keep the cucamelons, we're going to keep cucumbers, my tomatoes are going to need some trellising, and I'm going to try to use some like innovative ways to do that, because the big thing about community gardening is, like, at least in my community garden, you can't leave anything year to year, so everything has to be temporary. And since I live in an apartment, it's not like I can have a bunch of like semi-permanent structures that I just like take down. I drive a Chevy Spark, which is a tiny subcompact. Look it up if you haven't seen it. It's a really tiny car, so I can't really transport big trellises. I can barely transport those big like 6-foot bamboo stakes, which is what I use a lot. So yeah, lots of like temporary structures, or, you know, trying to make as sturdy temporary structures as I can to get through the year. As for the balcony, my biggest plan is to do quick to harvest things that are gonna be fragile and aren't gonna keep very well. So like I have like green onions, for example, which you can pick and keep them for a little bit, but they go kind of bad. It's easier to have them right outside my door. I can snip them, take them into the kitchen, and cook with them as I need them. Also some herbs that I can just grab and bring in if I want them fresh for the kitchen. I just bought some parsley. I got both flat leaf and curly parsley. That kind of stuff I'm gonna keep out here. Lettuce. Just some like cut and come again lettuce. It just started coming up. I was kind of hoping that it would come up faster, but it's just coming up now because it's finally getting warm enough. So I'm hoping that I can have some cut and come again lettuce to get me through until I get lettuce from the garden. Do I remember what I was talking about before my camera's battery died? No. I think I was talking about the balcony, right? Probably. I'm just gonna start where I think I was, and if it wasn't that, then like, oh well. So I have the little greenhouse. It's just like a greenhouse that I got on Amazon. Hold on. So yeah, I have my little greenhouse. I'm continuously starting seeds. I'm planning to continuously start seeds through as much of the year as possible because I'm gonna need them. So I'm really excited about, I kind of like upgraded. I got a new setup, just like ordered it on Amazon, and I even got new trays and stuff. They were $35, I think, for a set of 4, and that came with pots to fit into it, and it was just better than what I was doing before. I was trying to reuse stuff as much as I could before. So like, I get these little pots when I buy stuff from the greenhouse. By the way, this is my favorite thyme. Since my channel's called Woolman Thyme, you should get to know my favorite kind of thyme. This is Foxley thyme. It's variegated. Look at that little patch. Look at that little patch. Look at it. Don't look at my face. Look at the thyme. And it smells so good. But anyway, I was buying a lot of these plants from the greenhouse because there's another plane coming in. I was buying a lot of plants from the greenhouse because I didn't know what I was doing, and then I was saving all these pots and then just like jamming them into my little greenhouse last year, and it just didn't really work. These are pretty big, and I have a pretty small greenhouse, so I have smaller pots now, and like 2 of the little trays fit like perfectly on a shelf. So I have 8 total trays. I have 4.5 planted right now, and I'm just gonna keep sowing stuff that can be sowed in there as I go. I just started a bunch of stuff yesterday. I've been kind of holding off on starting a lot of stuff just because I've been really concerned about the weather, and I think I was right to do that because I still don't have a garden to put anything in. So yeah. I'm also just trying to plant some more like dwarf plants out here. So like I have some dwarf pea plants in my planter right now. Once I start having a little more room, I also want to plant some of my dwarf tomatoes. I have like 3 or 4 different varieties of dwarf tomatoes, I think, because I got really into them the one year and I saved a bunch of seeds. And I want to keep saving seeds of those and having my own little dwarf tomato collection because I think they're really fun. They only end up getting like this tall, and it's a little determinate tomato. You get tomato plant, you get like a handful of little cherry tomatoes. They're often the first tomatoes that I get. I haven't started any yet this year, but I definitely want to start some soon because it's just a treat. While my other tomatoes are still growing and getting higher, I can come out and pick a little snack, and I really like that. So that's the plan there. And then so beyond the balcony is basically just, like I said, kind of like my kitchen supplement where I can grab stuff to throw in dishes for the kitchen for cooking. My big garden is more for like a lot of stuff. I didn't bring them out here, but I did get some onion sets today. I kind of briefly showed them to you. And then I got all these plants, which I can show you quick. I got a mosquito plant, so this is like a citronella geranium. It said that wasps also don't like these that much, so I'm hoping that like as this gets bigger and more fragrant, it helps drive away the wasps, because a lot of the times the reason I don't sit out here is because I'm feeling like I'm getting dive bombed by the wasps that live in the roof, and it sucks, and they still aren't gone. So one of the other things that I got that it said that wasps don't really like because it smells is I got this golden oregano. So it's kind of a yellow, it's not showing up, at least not on like my camera screen, but it's kind of a yellower oregano. This one's pretty bushy already, so I might even trim it back once I get it like established. I haven't decided where I'm planting all of these yet. Some of them might go in this little thing behind me, and also just like make some space in my planter thing, even though I already threw a bunch of seeds in there. This guy and his motorcycle is really pissing me off today. I grabbed 2 different kinds of parsley. So curly parsley and just like plain flat leaf parsley. I always like to have parsley. It's something that I throw in pretty much everything. It's nice to have some fresh sprigs at home so that you can it's nice to have some fresh sprigs at home so that you can put like some fresh sprigs on your dishes like as you're cooking in the kitchen, but it's also nice to just continuously harvest this and dry it. Usually whenever I put this out in the big garden, it gets pretty big and I can get a pretty good continuous harvest through the year, so I can dry it. And also it's good for swallowtail butterflies. 2 years ago I actually brought in some swallowtail caterpillars and raised them. I have a little butterfly enclosure. That was a lot of fun, and if I can catch some this year, I think I'll do it again. I really like having butterflies. It was really cool to watch them develop, and then like I got to release them off my balcony and it just felt so special. And then the last thing, well no, I got some mint because that was another thing that's apparently really stinky and that wasps aren't a big fan of, and also I love mint, so oh no, don't. So I got 2 different kinds. There's spearmint, so this is spearmint. Oh, it smells so good. And then this is berries and cream mint, which it's like a darker leaf. So these I am both going to heavily prune so that they will branch out and be bushier. And I'll be planting these in containers. I actually got 2 containers to plant these in because you don't want to plant these in with anything else. They will choke the shit out of anything. Mint is aggressive, but these, look how gorgeous and big these are. That's why I love getting greenhouse plants. I like almost sniffed that leaf up. But yeah, I love these. I don't know if these are actually locally grown, but they're from a local greenhouse. Duality grown. Even if they have these, yep, these were grown in Dillsburg. Even if they have these like super pretty tags like this, that doesn't mean that they weren't grown locally. I follow someone on Tumblr who works at a greenhouse, so I kind of learned about that. It has to do with like where the greenhouses get their seeds, or sometimes there's like bigger industrial greenhouses near or growing operations near where you live that they get them from. But yeah, so usually if it's ones like that, there's like a bigger greenhouse in the area that my little greenhouses get them from. But then I think from the place that I get them from, these tags tend to be from their own stash. So yeah, I don't know. And then the actual last thing that I got, other than my fox leaf thyme, oh, look at it. Ah! This is gonna get so big. I don't know anything about this, but I saw it and I had to have it. So I got this everbearing mulberry. It's supposed to be like a patio plant, like you're supposed to be able to grow it in a pot. So I have a bigger pot down there. I think I'm gonna plant this in my bigger pot down there. I don't know why I sniffed it. It's a mulberry, but it's supposed to get to 3 to 6 feet tall, which you may be like, Sam, you're on a balcony. What the fuck are you doing? I know what I'm doing. Everbearing mulberry. It says pot size is 8 inches to 14 inches. Harvest from the spring to the fall. This will not, I highly doubt that I'd be able to harvest anything from this for the next few years, but it'll be a cool thing to get established and something to learn more about. It was $9, which is probably more than I should have spent on something like this, but it was one of the, you know, sometimes you just get a little novelty plant, you know? A wasp just like fell. Okay. Anyway. My last thing is I have worms now. I'm not going to show them today. I really need to feed them in the next couple days. But I did start vermicomposting. In my apartment, it's just a little teeny box. Not really. It's like a sizable box, and it's nice. I can throw my kitchen scraps. I have a bag of kitchen scraps in the freezer that I thaw and then like blend up for them and make them a little worm snack. And I'm making worm casings that I can then, or castings, is it worm castings? Worm casings? Worm castings. Worm castings, I think. I'm making worm castings that I can then use to fertilize my garden. It'll be cool. It's a cool thing. I don't know. It's a cool thing. It's an exciting new project. That I only started like a month ago, so I'm not harvesting anything from it yet. I'm just kind of letting it chill, but I can also make like compost tea from that and stuff, so it'll just be a good way to like get rid of kitchen scraps and stuff, and who knows, maybe I'll eventually upgrade to a bigger situation, but for now, happy with what I have. I can't read my handwriting. It looks like it says Larry Fingers. So some big goals that I have for this year, besides just like my normal shit, is I'm learning about foraging. I started kind of delving into that last year. I made some pestos with like chickweed, which is really, really easy to identify. I think that's all for now. If I think of anything else, I'll tack it on before I edit this video. I'm just too distracted by all the shit going on, and my wife is home, so I need to find out why my wife is home. Okay, bye. I'm still getting used to this, so that's as far out as it goes. Man, I really have to hold my arm out. I'm gonna have to like get strong. Anyway, so yeah, I'm in my messy little apartment, and it's funny because I was just filming yesterday when I got home later, and I was looking through stuff. There was actually a message in our Facebook group for the gardens that they did already start plowing, which is like super, super exciting because I knew it was coming, you know? So that's good. It is quite overcast right now, so I don't know if I'm gonna have time to film any stuff outside of like my setup. I mean, I guess I could just do that right now, because I kind of wanted to show you the setup outside. It's a little messy because I still want to plant these new plants, and I need to like clean up some of like the empty pots and stuff out here, but I might as well just show you, so let's go look. Excellent. All right, got it to work. So yes, welcome to the balcony. I'm sorry I can't make it any wider. This is as wide as this lens that I have on my little camera goes. This is a mirrorless camera that I got that I'm using to film. So anyway, so this is the trellis. I just have some lights on it, and then there's some stuff going on in here. So I have some wee little sprouts of salad burnet. And then some wee little pea sprouts. These are super snappy peas. And then there's lots of pansies hanging out around here, which is good. Got some garlic chives in here. There's also more pansies around. And this is my box of plants. I pushed them back because I don't want the box to get soaked if it starts to rain. There's also a plastic bag. Look. Do you ever feel like a plastic bag? We don't like Katy Perry here though. Anyway, so then I got this planter. I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to show it. There we go. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So it's just, this is all like modular, so I can reconfigure this and move them around, but this like double up setup kind of works good on this balcony because I can have stuff below that's okay with shade, and then stuff on the top that could use a little more sunlight or vertical space. They have these drains on the sides, so I have the ones on the sides open. These are on all sides because you can, like I said, reconfigure. These all just slip together. So you could technically have 6 separate ones if you want to. So in the top here, on either end, I have like bunching onions, so like basically green onions. I think there's red ones here, and then like just regular like white green onions there. Oh, I'm still holding my lens cap. And then in the middle here, you can see these are little teeny tiny dwarf peas. They're called Tom Thumb dwarf peas. I only have a few of these left, so if these even grow enough to produce peas, I'm gonna hopefully save some so I can grow them again, because I like them. They only end up getting like really super small, so that's cool. And then amongst here, and like you can see the green onion little sprouts hanging out in there. And then, oh, look at the little pea sprouts. And then this one, you can kind of start seeing some little sprouts popping up. That's mache corn salad. Oh, there's that Foxley thyme again. So pretty. And then underneath what I have, this is some salad blend. This is just like a regular salad blend. Barely any of that came up. I've got sorrel and arugula. In this one, the arugula is coming up really nice. And then this is a spicy salad mix. And then over here I have greenhouse. These, like I said, this is the second one of these that I bought. So let me unzip that and then I'll show you what's in there. Oops, I guess it wasn't filming. Anyway, here is the greenhouse, and I'm gonna step back so that I can actually show you. So you can tie up that front panel. I wish the ties were like a teensy bit bigger, but no matter. So that's all I have planted right now. I have enough to fill this whole thing up, so I still have like 3.5 trays to fill up. I was maybe going to plant some more today. It's kind of cloudy, so I don't know if it's gonna happen, but we'll see. Anyway, so what I have here so far, stuff that I started for the garden, the big garden. So there's a lot of different kinds of kale and basil, and this guy got some eggplants in the back, Chinese pink celery I wanted to try. I've never grown that before. I've got like one lonely borage right here, parsley, fennel, dill, that kind of stuff. Just trying to get some stuff started out so that I don't have to buy everything from starts. And then, whew, the wind's picking up. And then here I've got all my tomatoes. They're just like a teensy bit stressed. I think what happened was these trays do collect water in the bottom, although they do have holes in the bottom, so it does drain really well. But I think maybe they just got a little bit too wet, and it was a combination of that, and I hadn't really opened the greenhouse for a few days, so I think we were just like kind of like a little bit too hot and a little too humid in here for them. But I've been opening it during the day again so that they can have some air, and that seems to have made them quite a bit happier. And then coming on down here, these are all my pepper babies. I just moved them out the other day, so Yeah, you can kind of see some of the varieties I have there. Fish peppers, purple tiger peppers. There's some with variegation, like that guy right there. Cayenne, mini bells. And then also, ooh, this one looks a little funky. This leaf got a little weird, and I'm wondering, is that aphid or spider mites maybe? I don't know. And then I like to start some cucumbers just to try to get a head start, see if it works. It doesn't always work super well. I actually have had really bad luck with cucumbers, even with like trying to do a combination of direct sowing and this. I'm hoping with my strategy this year with the newspapers that maybe they just kind of need more moisture. I don't know. And then these are more cucumbers and squash. And then we've got 4 things of cucamelons down there and a couple more melons. Oh, and I do have melons up here too. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff. Excuse me, I have hiccups now. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff that I got from various seed swaps and things, so it'll be interesting to see what I end up with. But yeah, so this is my nice little garden area, and I have this nice little like set of chairs so I can come sit out here with my wife and look out upon the apartment complex. Wow. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get some good stuff out of here though. It looks promising. It's just such early spring, and you know how I'm just, hold on, I'm going to turn this around. Wow. You know how in early spring it just seems like nothing's happening and you're like just ready for everything to have already happened, and then you get worried that nothing's gonna happen. It's kind of where we're at right now, is that like waiting. So but yeah, I'm really happy with like all this new stuff that I got. These, I mean, I don't like to buy stuff on Amazon a lot, but these were pretty inexpensive on Amazon, and they just allow me to have something that's gonna last a little bit better than what I had been previously doing, was just using those reused nursery pots, which they're fine, but they break really easily, and it just doesn't, it's not for me anymore. These fit perfectly. Like, I could not have a more perfect fit here with these trays. It'll be easy to carry out with me to the big garden, so yeah, I'm optimistic. I also drew my garden out today. Do you want to see? Focus, please. Okay, so this is my garden plan for the big garden. So as you see, I have my little stone zone that I always like to keep. I don't digitize this because this doesn't ever end up being exactly what I do, but I think this might be the year that I have like a good enough plan that it'll all actually happen. There's a lot of pathways, but I want to make sure that I have enough space to actually work through everything. So I have 3-foot beds with 2-foot pathways. For the most part, there's some, you know, weird stuff happening up here, but that's because I like it that way. Also, these are just going to be zucchinis, so I can step around them. They're not going to be like taking up the whole ground space, so I don't mind having to step among those. But I basically have stuff kind of sectioned out, and what I'm going to do is most of these rows are going to be covered with newspaper. So I am going to go through and make the correct length of newspaper row, roll them up, and mark them so that when I go out, I can just literally lay it out, cover them up, get them nice and watered in, and have my garden already laid out without having to do as much as I did last year, which involved a lot of paint sticks and marking and then dumping dirt. I don't want to do that this year. This year I want this nice like pre-laid out thing, and then I can go in and start poking in plants and don't have to keep weeding. And yeah, I think this plan will work. It is an experiment, but I think it's going to work out pretty well. But yeah, some of the, I've got herbs, zinnias, eggplant. I have some areas that are just marked like experiments because I'm not quite sure what I want to put in there. Worst case, throw some flowers in there, or, you know, if I find something weird at the store that I want to try out, it'll go there. I wrote all of this in cursive for some reason. I guess it is a little bit easier to read than my normal handwriting. So squashes, melons, many melons, sunflowers along the edge here, and then I want to do a whole 1-foot row of wildflowers across the front because I don't go in and out this way. I only come in and out from this corner because the road where I park is up that direction. You can see that's facing north. So yeah, I only really want to have a path that actually goes out from here because that's the only place I come in and out from. But along here is all the like shared pathway. So yeah, Part of the other thing is, in this area there are deer, so I wanted to have some sort of barrier along the edges that would hopefully kind of discourage the deer from coming in. I know I'm not going to 100% be able to keep them out, but that'll at least be sort of a barrier to try to keep them out and also possibly keep people from coming and walking through my garden. But yeah, otherwise I have this kind of like grid pathway down. This is probably the most griddy my garden has gotten. But like I said, I'm really trying to like utilize the space in a way that's going to work. The stone zone is kind of a joke. I've had that for the past couple years. I don't know why they're shouting at each other. I've had this for the past couple years, so basically I just take all the rocks that I find in my garden and I throw them in this area and kind of line the whole area with rocks. Obviously, it'll really only be like a couple little spots, but it'll be fine. It'll be cool. We've got cucumbers, cucamelons. I have 2 little spots specifically just for onions because I got 2 different kinds of onions. Peppers. We've got beans, 2 different kinds of beans. I'm not doing a whole lot of space with beans because I haven't had super great luck with beans, but we'll see what happens. And then I'm trying amaranth and quinoa this year. That's an experiment, so I'm giving them a good big space because they take a while and they get pretty big. So this will be that space for roots. So this is going to mostly be carrots and radishes, and I'm going to succession sow those. Lettuce I'm going to succession sow. Kale I usually am okay with the plants lasting the whole season, so like kale and dark greens, like I like to do why can't I think of it, rainbow chard, rainbow chard, and then like broccolinis. I'm not doing any full broccoli heads, cabbage, or cauliflower because I never have luck with that and it's just not worth my time. But we did like the broccolini that we got last year, like broccoli rabe, so that's going to go there. My big row of tomatoes, so I'm basically going to have a bunch of indeterminate tomatoes along the back and some determinate ones in the front, and I'm going to interlace some basil and borage and marigolds with those. And yeah, so that is the plan, and I can't wait to like get started on this. I really need to work on my newspaper rolls though, like this weekend, because it's imminent. So I'm outside. You'll never guess what happened today. The garden opened. Also, I would really like to say that one of my favorite pastimes is when people, watching people look at me funny at Home Depot. I don't know if you can see them. I have, stakes, 6-foot bamboo stakes, and they're in my teeny tiny little car. I drive a tiny little hatchback, and you can do a lot with Whoa! I always forget that bright light. I'll get used to it. So new. Don't mind my mess. Yeah, I forgot to sign off this video, but, hey. Hi, remember me? I'm gonna try to edit this video in the next couple days so that I can get it out to you all, because I'm super excited to get all of this gardening stuff out there. And I'm actually going to be going out tomorrow to the garden so that I can get some more work done, and I took Friday off to have a nice long weekend to work on things. So yeah, that means that I should have a lot of content. I got a tripod now so that I can take this new camera out with me and get some good like time-lapse footage maybe of getting some of this stuff set up. So yeah, look forward to that. I'm going to probably have a very like random video. The videos of gardening are probably going to be random. That's what I'm trying to say, because I don't know when things are going to happen, and I have like a gap where I'm getting my teeth pulled out, so, but look forward to more gardening videos in the near future, and thank you for coming on this journey with me. And if you're not already, subscribe and like this video if you dig it, and I'll see you again soon.